said entirely too much.
You said the right words.
Dear Lord. And I will take all the pressure off of myself by saying it's not about me at all. It's about God, okay? Amen. Okay, like he said, my name is Allie R. How y'all feeling tonight? All right, so I will preface this by saying, like he said, I can be very vulnerable. My pieces are very deep. I do not apologize for that because God can only move through my authenticity.
Amen.
So I will say that. True story. I was working on 3 pieces for this evening, and I was practicing them through rotation as I do. And as I'm trying to figure out what order I wanted to do them in, I would go to start a piece, and a line from a poem that I haven't done since 2018 kept coming up. And I ignored it. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I ignored it. And then it kept coming up. And so I really felt like God was telling me to do this piece. And I'm like, oh Lord, I ain't done this since 2018. I don't know how this is gonna go. So for the sake of obedience, I kind of know why it fell back on my heart, just because of some things that are happening in my personal life. But I also genuinely believe that it may be for somebody in this room. The name of the piece is Still Here, and it deals with mental health, and it deals with some ideations. And so I would just like to say, if you have ever been in that place, if you ever struggled, I would just like to say firsthand that I'm glad that you're still here, just off the strength that you are a child of my father's. So this first piece is called Still Here. Next time death calls and asks how you've been, I'm telling him you're not home. I'll tell him he hasn't sown anything that makes him worthy to reap the benefits of your heartbeat. I'll probably answer in a bad accent of a language I don't even speak. I'll tell him that you moved on. I'll hint at him so he knows you're staying here for a while, and to call me selfish, but I'm not ready to part with your smile. I'll remind him of how he lost his sting. I'll tell him about the victory you're currently living in. I'll probably tell you something like it was the wrong number. I'll remind you that you're stronger. I'll say, since God's ways are higher than our own, then darling, you're wrong, you belong here. That the battle's not yours, it's the Lord, so it's not your call to opt for surrender when today leaves us and runs off to be with every other yesterday. There would be nothing anyone could say to keep my heart at bay if we couldn't meet tomorrow together. If your presence was no longer present and I had to start using past tense verbs like he was, or she would always, or we used to, or I would've, should've, could've, or you lived. And I'm writing this piece because I know what a close call is, and I want to pray you out of his reception. To bind another almost, to rebuke another not quite, to resume my responsibility for intercession over your life. I won't let you go down without a fight. For every God, please, positioned on my knees, if this is what it takes, I will stay at his feet. I'll use this power of life and death to fight for your next breath. Come hell or high water, I won't lose you to yourself. Or the enemy's translation of you. I won't lose you to the world's interpretation of you or the summation of your past. He gave you a gift that you don't just get to give back. You can't manipulate the Father of time and persuade him that yours is up. You cannot give up, and I won't let you. That's why when we hug, I hold on like it's the last thing I was ever good at. I say I love you like it's my first language, and I pray that my next inhale has the strength to carry us into forever. I hold on like I never cared that this moment could sense our desperation. That's why awkward silences on phone calls won't persuade me to hang up. Because quite honestly, I'd rather have some dead air than a dead you, and the time running reminds me how much I value your pulse. And people will probably think I care more than I should, and quite frankly, I think anyone would if they knew what it took for you to be here. They would know that this warfare is not a game, and personally, my life wouldn't be the same if you weren't still here. That's why I love in a way that some people don't get, so that you know that you're more than your mistakes. You're more tenacious than your regrets. You might have been down and out, but God's not through with you, yet he loves you way more than I ever could. But this isn't the way he wanted you back. He wants to show you just how much in the midst of the attack, so give him a chance to show himself true. Because I'm not done counting days with you. So when today leaves us and runs off to be with every other yesterday, at night I want to look death square in the face and say they're holding on. They're still here. I thank God that you're holding on, that you're still here. Thank you. this next piece is called PTSD, and it's safe to say that that's kind of self-explanatory. You know, just like any smart enemy should, everything the Lord wanted to use for my good, he distorted it. And only in a way that an imposter could. When all my heart wanted was to be understood, I let him in because I thought he could, and he didn't. He used to say, "Girl, you're my rider." And it's funny. Seems like everyone's out here looking for a ride or die, but I almost drove myself to suicide to prove that I was down. Low riding, full speed on E. I guess he figured the love for him would never die in me, and it didn't. Well, not immediately. But when it did, my deliverance was deserving. I was way past hurting, and I walked away free. With God to my rescue, my pain in my rear view, I began to find love within me. I reestablished grounded feet, and as I gained more yesterdays, I wrote it off as history. You see, when you've been abused, love doesn't taste the same. Affirmations get stuck at the top of your mouth. Love doesn't go down easy. I choke on affection. It won't settle, but that didn't cease my appetite. Because once I had made up my mind that I was worthy to die and I saw nothing but organic could kill my cravings, I wanted love. You know, like raised on romanticism and nursed on happy endings. I won't settle for shallow, won't put up with pretending, study Hollywood language and Pinterest weddings. Love like, I must have been absent the day we voted in trap music and mumble rap because I always swore by the policy in the R&B. Or the day I traded in Disney princesses for romantic comedies like we could single-handedly revive chivalry with our Sleeping Beauty's kiss. Love like wrong generation. Like old soul looking for new love. Like prove these butterflies can still flutter. I wanted love. Maybe before I should have. Being overzealous with trauma has a funny way of doing that, reminding you that you're just that. Vulnerable. With no words before an attack, no warning, no caution, no sign. Flashback. And I know you had no idea what your words were packing, but with every question, your tongue got tighter on the trigger, emptied the clip of my eyelids, and shot me back to 2012. You fired right at the hurt in me. Rounds of questions penetrate my flesh. And angst of what'll happen next, you might hear silence, but my every breath is interrogating your motives, raising questions like, one, what exactly is the color of trust? It must be somewhere between blackouts and white lights, no shades of gray, and if my eyes are closed out of instinct, does it matter anyway too? Is that what they meant when they said love is blind? 3, if lips lock in my present and my past isn't around, why does it still make a sound? 4, if loving embraces make my skin crawl, why was it so hard to walk away? 5, how long would you walk amazed if you were ever promised you reached the center? 6, how do you have a confrontation on your yesterdays once you already turned your back? 7, when I ask, can you stand the rain? Did you ever think it meant storms targeted for my pillows, that categories my heart couldn't handle, and words that strike and never hit the same place twice? Man, I'm sorry. My exhale pleaded, love didn't hurt you. Someone who didn't know how to did. My inhale screaming, the more things change, the more things feel the same, paralyzed in pain with this montage on repeat. I heard God speak. He said, there's no wonder why you're still feeling complete. You went searching for love, but you never found me. I surpassed the love that you want. I'll give you the love that you need, and I needed his love, y'all. I needed love like, there must be purpose to this pain and these bones that were dead. Watch them live again. Like I left that pumpkin coach in my midnight hour. His nails were more fashionable than my glass slippers. I needed love like I clothed you in strength and dignity, dipped you in endless possibilities. So will you trust me to turn this around? Like I'm more valuable than a diamond on my finger because I'm a jewel in his crown. I needed love like he has my heartbeat in rotation and our future etched in his brain. Like he cares for me too much to leave me the same. Like pierced for my transgressions and corrected by conviction and the happily ever after that he calls eternity. Like words in red, constructed letters of adoration from a not-so-secret admirer, like he was proud to claim me. I needed love like salvation, like a broken heart and a contrite spirit, made his strength perfected in my weakness, like there was beauty in my meekness. I needed love like resurrection and new creation, and he is the first and the last. Like forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. I needed love like renew, like never leave nor forsake, like I will no longer wander, like narrow and straight. I needed love like nothing could separate, love like comforter and unconditional, like breath and life. I needed love like the thought of intimacy doesn't hurt with you. I needed love like he said I would die for you. And he did. I needed love like pillow talk prayers and butterflies of purpose, like his promise in the dark was my dread coming in the morning. I needed love like he is not a man that he should lie, like he meant it when he said no goodbyes, like come here girl, it's okay to cry. I think there's something real between you and I, like I'm here to catch you. When you're ready to fall in love. So now with his loving embrace, I surrender. With my eyes set on high, I will seek him. With the fragments of my heart, I will trust him as he shows me. So let a good father do what only a good father could. When he promises that he'll use it for your good, you let him. I try to tune it out like any broken heart would, but don't be so fearful of being misunderstood that you miss out on the victory you're ensured he is able. Even in the midst of a situation when I didn't think he would, he guided my eyes right back to where he stood. And he walked me out. And he's been holding my hand ever since. So to the next guy that falls for me, understand my wants will never surpass my needs, and while I may want to be in love, I need him. Understand that he has to take my hand and place it in yours first. And understand that neither one of us can afford to have him let go. So he won't. Thank you. I have one more, and this is kind of a little bit more fun, a little bit more uplifting. I promised Josh that the next time I would stand on a platform that I would do it, so I'm going to be a woman of my word, okay? This piece is called, "To all the men I ghosted during my short stint on dating apps, I bet you wish they had a profile section for listing your red flags." But I feel like we're family here, so I think we can call this piece Red Flags for sure. Is that cool?
Yeah. Wait, can you run that back from the beginning?
The intro sounded like a
To
poem.
all the men I've ghosted during my short stint on dating apps, I bet you wish they had a profile section for listing your red flags. Or red flags for short. So against my better judgment, I let a friend talk me into trying dating apps. And within a couple of weeks, I was passionately convinced that it was an overrated, glorified pick-me contest based on superficial stats. And I want to blame social media for us thinking an algorithm and filters is a great way to generate a genuine connection, but that's another poem for another time. And for the record, I don't really call it ghosting if we did a couple days of good mornings and what you're doing is without anything more substantial, but now I know some people that do. I will digress. Nevertheless, ironically, one of the best conversations I had while I was on there, a man asked me, "So what's hard about dating you?" And in that moment, I felt lost in a pool of my existence, barely balancing between the shallow and you're gonna drown. And if I'm barely holding on to this rope, I wasn't sure how well he would tread. Knowing that any response would likely cause ripples, I simply laughed at the inquiry. Because on the surface level, you never know if you're dealing with someone who likes to take the stairs or the diving board. Because I could have said something like, my red flags include randomly humming the electric slide whenever it pops into my head. No, like often. Out loud. Or how I like the edges of the mac and cheese but the center of the brownie, and I get offended if those two are ever interchanged. Or don't nothing prove God's grace over my life more than the games I play with my gas tank. Or how I wear sandals just until I can see my breath outside because I hate having anything on my feet. But if you really know me, you also know I could have told him that sometimes I can get really quiet. Which means I won't always be as talkative as you want me to be, but I promise I'm pensive, not passive, that I'm observing, not judging, that experience has taught me I fought too hard to become who I am. So now I'm selective with who can handle my well-executed expressions, and I'd rather be silent than allow myself to be invalidated or persuaded, and I've been called a skeptic. But when I do things like even questioning writing this poem because I don't want to give anyone any ammunition to use against me, I can't even blame them. I do things like tell people to take their time and space, reassure them I'm as close or as far as they want me to be, and then get upset when I get treated like an option. Wow. But it's something about the people that love the color of my eyes, but can't see the pain behind them. Because sure, it would be great if I had somebody that would watch a video or even come to a show, but wouldn't it be even better if I had someone to hold me as the tears come, as I'm living the same art that the general public will get to clap their hands for? And I'm sure I probably should have told him that my best friends would like to say there's some people that belong on this red flags list. And I usually laugh it off despite their need to persist. Instead, I tell them that people can't be red flags because neither you nor I want to be defined by our mistakes. And I want to be able to love whenever I deem it's appropriate, which I happen to think is all the time. Red flag, I won't apologize for having a big heart. Stubbornly ever. Even when it causes me to fumble what I've been entrusted to carry, red flag, I carry the weight of a failed perfectionist. I've been mocked and called a goody two-shoes, but I can't help that I find concrete rules comforting. It makes me feel like there's less margin for error. Red flag, I'm anxious and high functioning. Meaning, if mental health is a battle that is invisible, being high functioning will even take away the braille. So how will you communicate with what you can't see? And one of the things that is the most draining for me is too many notifications and small talk. Two things that these apps are full of. So what you saw as casual conversation, I saw as extensive labor, and I've never been good at sales. So how do I close the deal on me? Honestly, it was easier to press
How do I
delete.
close the deal on me?
And I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, but I'm not sorry for prioritizing my healing. I'm dealing with the pieces of me that'll never stand behind a microphone, with words that I'll never utter in a DM. And I'm sorry if that spills over into our introduction, but didn't you say you wanted to get to know me? I'm not messy, but I am complex. So when you ask me to tell you a bit about myself, it's easy for me to say something generic like, I'm a Jersey girl who has a thing for loving God and his people and has a passion for the arts. Someone who could then ramble off accolades and adjectives, but then you wouldn't know the half of this. See, I've been doing laps in this, and if you ever decide to take a swim, you'll realize my heart is just as much lazy river as it is whitewater rafting. Except just spend more time relaxing than going against the tide. And when you come up for air, there will be no gas.
My God.
Because you've been submerged in the deepest love any human can offer. And I'm just saying
My God.
that if love's already at risk, and none of this stuff makes you trip, I'm warning you to proceed with caution. But if you dive, it's worth the risk. Thank you.